All right, let's talk about something that trips up so many talented people. This feeling that you're amazing at your job, but you're also completely invisible. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
This right here, this is really the heart of it all. See, in any competitive space, being humble is a great quality, for sure, but being invisible, that's a huge liability. And you've got to know the difference if you want to get ahead.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Is all that effort actually moving you up the ladder? Or are you just stuck on a hamster wheel of tasks, just keeping busy? It's a tough question, but it's one we need to answer.
So, to really get to the bottom of this, we need to explore something called the competence trap. We're going to break it down with a real story and then connect it all to a powerful leadership framework that you can start using right away.
And here it is. This is the absolute essence of the competence trap. It's this myth that if you just put your head down and do great work, sooner or later, someone's going to tap you on the shoulder with a promotion. But the hard truth? Competence without visibility doesn't lead to success. It leads to stagnation.
So let's look at the first stage of what's called the pawn to queen visibility framework. We call this stage 1, the pawn, and it's all defined by one idea: quiet competence.
You know, the author of our source material had a perfect way of describing herself back in school. She said she wasn't really on the brainy side, but she was definitely the hard-working type. And that is the very definition of quiet competence. You rely on your effort and just hope it speaks for itself.
Does any of this start to sound a little familiar? The pawn is the person every team needs. They're reliable, they're skilled, they're total workhorses. But they shy away from the spotlight, truly believing that if they just work hard enough, recognition will come. The real problem starts when that core belief gets shattered.
And this brings us right to the heart of the conflict. It's that moment when you realize that hard work on its own just isn't enough. Let's see how this actually played out in our story.
So she'd been stung by this comment that she only did well because her parents were teachers. And she made this promise to herself, right? She was going to work even harder in high school to prove everybody wrong. I mean, the drive was there, the work ethic was there. What could possibly go wrong?
And bam. This is the exact moment the competence trap snaps shut. After all that hard work, all that determination, the result wasn't success. It was failure. She actually got demoted to a lower section. You can imagine, for a 13-year-old, this was just crushing. It was that first, brutal lesson that just being a hard-working type isn't enough to win.
But this is also where things start to change. You know, after you hit a low point, that's often where the pivot begins. And the solution, it rarely starts with some big, grand gesture. It usually starts small, with little opportunities that people give you.
What's so interesting here is how minor these things seem. Being the classroom keykeeper, managing a small class project. By themselves, they don't seem like much. But strategically, oh, they were everything. Each one was a tiny vote of confidence from a mentor, a little platform that put her in the spotlight, even for a second. This is how visibility starts.
And this is where you can see the huge mental shift happening. Each one of those little moments of trust from a teacher pushed her beyond just doing the work. It was about being seen doing the work, and she was learning a massive lesson. Your contribution and your positioning are two very different things.
Okay, so that's the story. But how do we take this and turn it into a real, actionable strategy for your career? Let's pull out the core leadership insights here.
All right, here's the first major takeaway. And honestly, if you're in any kind of competitive field, this one is absolutely vital.
Look, in any high-performing organization, pretty much everyone is competent. Being good at your job isn't special. It's the bare minimum. It's just the price of admission. It gets you in the door, but it doesn't win you the game. The thing that actually sets you apart is your visibility, your reputation, your influence. That's what gets you promoted.
And that leads us perfectly into the second big insight, which is all about, well, how do you actually build that visibility?
And here's the key. Leaders are always testing people's potential with small, visible tasks. Just like the teachers in the story. Maybe your boss asks you to present just one slide in a huge meeting, or to lead one tiny piece of a project. You have to recognize those moments for what they are. They're not just tasks, they're auditions for bigger and better things.
Okay, so we've looked at the trap and we've seen the path out. Now it's time to turn the focus squarely back on you and your own career.
This is such a powerful question to reflect on, because while you're focused on getting your own visibility, think about your role as a leader or even just as a teammate. See, visibility isn't a zero-sum game. You can actually rise by lifting other people up. by giving them those little moments of trust, giving them a platform to be seen.
In the end, staying stuck is a choice. You can choose to stay a pawn, quiet, competent, and just hoping someone notices. Or you can start to make deliberate, strategic moves to build your influence and your visibility. The board is set. It's time to make your move.